Listen properly.
Hello everyone. Once again, we open the case file no one wants to talk about, but everyone needs to hear. This is the Footsack Files. First of all, just a reminder, if you'd rather prefer to jump straight to the main story, please feel free. You can check where it starts on the timeline I have posted, but I promise everything preceding the main story are worth sticking around for. Now, before we dive into today's explosive subject, here's a quick reminder. I share a short excerpt from one of my books in every episode. If it leaves you wanting more, you can order a digital copy of either book by simply emailing me at author.skulk@gmail.com. They're 75 Rand each, that's, listen properly, 200 Rand less than retail, or 125 Rand for both, and every cent goes to the animal charity I support, which feeds and cares for feral fur babies who are completely dependent on human compassion to survive. A special thanks to the viewers who had ordered copies. I really appreciate it. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, I want to thank you for the great response on the last episode. I wish I could show them all, but I've chosen a few of the comments that really stood out. Again, if you'd rather jump straight to the main story, please feel free. Sean Stradom said, very insightful indeed. Also seeing Obama being criticized in America for politicizing the same funeral. Love both your books. Well, I'm delighted to hear that, Sean. Mike B said, your memes are the best. Marius Bay said, het jy die kar een al? Wel, Marius, hy kom nog. Ek het nie daarvan forceer nie. Frans Murati said, I'm not sure if you're aware that a Lebanon plane from MEA, Middle Eastern Airlines, flew over the Waterkloof area. It was low enough that I could see Lebanon's emblem. After I decided to web search which airline it was, I found out that this airline does not fly to South Africa, so it is obvious to ask oneself, why is it here? I think you know what I'm getting at. Well, Frans, this is very interesting. I wasn't aware of this. But these days, I wouldn't even be surprised to see Iranian planes landing here at my doorstep, to be honest. And yes, we all know what you're getting at. Daidu said, pity they didn't arrest him while he was there. I also think Cyril's failure to select a US ambassador is a real slap in the face to the US. And now Ronald Lamola wants to demarche Brent Bozell because of comments he made at the BizNews conference about hate speech, BEE, and expropriation. Well, Didu, I also think they should have grabbed opportunity to grab Squirrel while he was there. And empty skulled Ronald Lamola did end up demarching Ambassador Bozell. I just hope Ambassador Bozell sees it in the same way you'd see a mosquito. Irritating, right up until you swat it into a tiny bloodstain. Pierre Moret said Ramaphosa has become so irrelevant. He's living in his own arrogant little world with an inflated ego that's going to explode in his face. This clown of a president definitely does not deserve any red carpet, official ceremonies, or any welcome at all. It is quite clear that he is not welcome and they don't want him near the White House. Sieg said, Squirrel should expect the same treatment Maduro received. Chains and a free ride to Guantanamo. Leon Meyer said, dankie Skalk, die memes met Trump het my dag gemaak. And Frans Murati said, at 12 minutes 54, gehuil soos ek lag. Wel, in daai geval, Leon en Frans, hier is dit weer, net vir julle. Grok Matrix said, so they sold our nukes to the Iranians? I've seen earlier on what American spy satellites can do. No wonder Iran has no navy left. What is next, I wonder? Well, Grok Matrix, I also wonder what is next. Maybe this episode will shine a spotlight on that question. All right, that's as far as the comments go for today. Please remember, I read every single one. And I really appreciate you taking your precious time to share your thoughts. So please keep them coming. Now then, it's time to award the Empty Skull Award. To the biggest empty skull who has truly outdone themselves in recent events. So, without further ado, the Empty Skull Award goes to, and may I mention, without even a hint of competition, to the Iranian ambassador to South Africa, Mansour Shakib Mehr. Now, ordinarily I'd hesitate before handing out such a prestigious dishonor, but when the embassy's official X account starts sounding like it's being run at 3 a.m. after a bad week and even worse decisions, one has to assume the tone comes right from the top, and if that's the case, well, what does that say about the raghead in charge? Let's just say composed, measured, and diplomatic don't quite make the list. Just look at the reply I got on my ex post from the Iranian embassy. Let's say wacko. Now, the Iranian ambassador earned something a little bit extra. Not just the award, but a starring role in my 2023 book. He features rather prominently, but I won't spoil it for you. But I will say this. It doesn't end particularly well for him. I think you're going to enjoy the excerpt. So, without further ado, here is this week's excerpt from my second book.
We entered the boardroom moments later, the atmosphere heavy and ominous. The lights were dim, casting long shadows over the faces of the men in the room. I noticed the two-star general, with Colonel Branson sitting to his right, but I didn't recognize anyone else. I assumed the others in civilian dress were intelligence officers. Then a voice crackled over the loudspeaker. It was Lieutenant Colonel McCarthy, the F-35 pilot, confirming he had taken off from the Ronald Reagan. He was now on his way and would eventually locate the target once it crossed the border into Mozambique. We sat in silence, what felt like an eternity passing as our eyes remained glued to the screen, showing nothing but whitecaps on ocean waves. Then, a coastline emerged on the horizon. The pilot confirmed he was about to fly over Mozambique's rugged shore and would soon locate the target once it crossed onto Mozambican soil. Larner whispered that the decision had been made to strike there, minimizing fallout that would have been greater if the strike occurred within South Africa's borders. The pilot's voice came over the radio again, more urgent this time. The target had been located, but there was a complication. Two vehicles were traveling together, and it wasn't clear which carried the Iranian ambassador and his intelligence chief. The pilot asked the captain of the Ronald Reagan for instructions. After a brief, tense pause, the order came through: destroy both vehicles. The pilot acknowledged the command. Moments later, the grainy black and white images of two cars appeared on the screen, moving at rapid speed. Targets acquired. Firing missiles, the pilot announced. A shiver raced down my spine as I stared at the flickering screen, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and anticipation. Every second felt suspended in time as the vehicles sped across the screen, oblivious to their impending doom. Then, in a breathtaking moment, the screen erupted into a blinding explosion of black and white chaos. The missiles struck with unrelenting precision, their fiery trails merging into a cataclysmic burst that swallowed the screen whole. The explosion roared with a ferocious intensity, its searing flames dancing in a violent symphony of destruction, leaving behind only a vast, gaping crater and scattered, smoldering debris. The room, previously charged with tension, exploded into a thunderous crescendo of cheers and applause. The walls seemed to tremble with the force of the jubilant shouts of "Yeah!" that reverberated through the tense silence. The pilot's voice, though barely audible above the cacophony, managed to cut through the clamor with a stark and victorious declaration. Targets destroyed! Returning to base!
Now, at last you may say, let's get into today's explosive subject. What if the next US military action after finishing off Iran is on the southern tip of Africa, where the terrorist state's biggest cheerleader is situated? South Africa, once a reliable partner, very recently hosted warships from Iran, Russia, and China in its own waters, with its third world so-called defense force literally showing President Squirrel Ramaphosa the middle finger. Correction, its commander-in-chief. a move that definitely registered on the United States' radar. So today, we're breaking down a troubling geopolitical fault line. Why South Africa's recent foreign and military actions could put it squarely in the crosshairs of the United States. We'll examine South Africa's increasing alignment with US adversaries, blatant military cooperation with Iran, Russia, and China, an ominous breakdown in civilian control over the military, its most recent provocative actions, and the very real possibility that US military action could be triggered if this deviant behavior continues. So, for decades, South Africa claimed a policy of non alignment, presenting itself as neutral on global conflicts. But actions tell a whole different story. Instead of aligning with democratic partners like the United States, South Africa's military has clearly positioned itself alongside terrorist regimes openly hostile to Washington. Recent Navy drills, named Wolf of Peace nogal, saw warships from China, Russia, and Iran docking at Simonstown Naval Base. Just an interesting tidbit of info. That Iranian warship that took part now lies at the bottom of the sea. Well, all of their ships are now at the bottom of the sea, keeping one another company, cuddling up side by side on the ocean floor. Well, Iran's inclusion in the naval drills were especially provocative. Despite Squirrel ordering Iran not to be allowed to participate, they remained and took part in exercises. That's not just sloppy diplomacy, that's military insubordination. The US Embassy in Pretoria blasted the move, calling Tehran a state sponsor of terror and condemning South Africa for welcoming Iranian forces while they were engaged in the brutal crackdowns at home. Lawmakers in Washington have openly warned against South Africa's cozy ties with Iran and other adversaries. Senior US politicians have called South Africa an enemy, can you believe it, an enemy, for hosting military drills with Washington's adversaries.
Well, they're a unique problem for America.
Correct.
I mean, they're not they're our enemy right now. I mean, they're buddies with all of our enemies, and they've been very critical of the United States.
Arguably, the most alarming sign isn't the diplomatic breakdown, it's what's happening inside South Africa. Despite the commander in chief's instructions, the South African National Defence Force ignored orders related to Iran's participation in drills. Independent analysts now describe this as a serious disconnect between civilian leadership and the military command. Well, if you can really call this civilian leadership, well, that's not theory. That's a classic precursor to a coup or rogue military alignment. And remember, this is still Africa, where military coups are, well, nothing out of the ordinary. History shows that the United States has acted decisively, militarily, when its core strategic interests are threatened and once allies fall into adversarial spheres. President Trump has already neutralized Venezuela's dictator. If South Africa's military leadership were to attempt a coup or continue openly aligning its armed forces with Iran, Russia, and China, the US response would not be diplomatic posturing. It would be direct military intervention. While on the subject, what happened to this empty-skulled chief of the South African National Defence Force's promise to his terrorist buds in Iran that he would help them in a military clash with the United States? Well, it seems like the general has suddenly become more silent than the Ayatollah Khamenei, who's dead. Where are the promised South African forces racing to assist Iran? I'm just asking. Okay, let's look at South Africa's most recent provocative actions toward the United States, like demarching US ambassador over his justified comments about the Kill the Boer chant, refusing to distance itself from the terrorist regime in Iran despite US demands, and worse even, floating the idea of a joint nuclear weapons program with Brazil all add fuel to an already raging fire. Well, it's clear South Africa is forgetting just one tiny thingy. The United States obliterated Iran over its nuclear weapons ambitions, and it will do so again. Floating nuclear cooperation with Brazil under President Lula da Silva, a socialist convicted freaking criminal, openly at odds with the United States, is not just provocative, it's freaking suicidal. Because when it comes to nuclear weapons, Washington will not tolerate new shithole regimes entering the game, especially not puny little third world countries like South Africa. So, just for interest's sake, what might US military action look like? Here are some plausible scenarios. First of all, securing strategic assets. The Simonstown Naval Base is one of the most important naval facilities in the South Atlantic and Indian Oceans. If the SANDF aligned with Iranian or Russian fleets, the US will move to secure it to protect shipping lanes and NATO Western naval operations. Well, correction, there isn't more an Iranian fleet, is there? Air and sea dominance will be established immediately. Special operations would entail targeted missions to ensure critical command and control remains out of hostile hands. This isn't just hypothetical. It's precisely how the US has acted when allies falter or when adversaries block or threaten global stability. But let's be realistic here. The US all but destroyed Iran's once formidable armed forces, including its whole navy and its whole air force, in a matter of, 2 weeks? And of course, cut off the head of the snake, Ayatollah Khamenei, aka Ahmed the Dead Terrorist. If they were to turn their attention to South Africa, I bet they will decide that one aircraft carrier would finish the job in, let's say, less than a day. In fact, an aircraft carrier would probably be a bit of overkill, but they might as well pop into Simonstown Naval Base on their way back to the US. South Africa stands at a crossroads. Clock is ticking. Whether through diplomatic pressure, economic leverage, or military action, the United States will not watch a strategically vital region further drift into the sphere of its adversaries. So, ask yourself, is South Africa drifting or stumbling toward a crisis the US will no longer ignore? Okay, that's where we'll leave it for now. But the real story is still unfolding, and what's coming next may change everything. Please share your thoughts in the comments. I'll feature the most striking ones in the next episode. And if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe, because the next chapter is one you don't want to. Well, okay, I just couldn't resist. I thought I'd leave you on a very funny note. But until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and be ready. Cheers.
Haha, we killed you.
Right.
You are not real. You are AI.
Of course.
So now tell me the truth. What are you planning?
A new technology, we call it II.
II? Israeli intelligence?
No,
So what is II?
this.
Ai! Ai!